Let's continue making sense of this moment. With us here in our studios is Tselane, who's the Executive Chair of the Institute of Election Management Services in Africa, making sense of this moment as the moment itself continues to unfold. And I think it's very important to be very upfront about that. We're almost flying this plane as we build it to get a sense of how South Africa will decide on the other side of the next hours that are left insofar as the voting is concerned. And we were speaking about some of the logistical issues, including ballot papers, for example, in an attempt, I think, in a way, to also squash any misunderstanding or misinformation. Insinuations being made that the IEC is printing more ballot papers than there are voters, but you've explained to us that that's completely normal.
Absolutely. As I've indicated, you never really know how many people are likely to go to a voting station. So it is important that we produce more ballot papers in order to cater for any eventuality. So I think there is nothing untoward about it, particularly because of the transparencies that are there in the system. Even if the ballot papers were more than the number of people who actually registered, every ballot paper would still have to be accounted for when it comes to counting.
Yeah. Do we know what happens to the ballots that aren't used? I mean, I suppose they become discarded, but not in a bin like every other piece of, item that you don't use anymore.
No. All the ballot papers after 6 months, they actually get destroyed. So in terms of the legislation, the Commission has got the responsibility to keep all the ballot papers for 6 months. And then after 6 months, then they can dispose of them.
Okay, all right. I just want to draw our viewers to what's taking place on the bottom of your screen there. Gayton McKenzie, if memory serves, is just about casting his ballot in Kraaifontein. That's in the Western Cape. There's the magic moment, live visuals for you as he drops into one of the ballot boxes. His vote, of course, he's folding the rest of his ballots just outside, just by the ballot box itself, which is, I suppose, not typically how people would do things. No guesses who he might have voted for. In many instances we're told your vote is your secret, but not for these political party heads, many of whom have made very clear the concept that they believe they have the answer to take South Africa forward. So we'll just keep bringing you some of that color. Live visuals there from Kraaifontein with Gayton McKenzie casting his ballot. All right, so that's the ballot boxes themselves. I think for special votes, we also had the unique addition or security measure of the envelopes, which also ran out at some stage. I think the IEC had mentioned in a number of polling stations. Is that new? Has something like that taken place?
For the what?
For the special votes, the ballots were put inside envelopes, right? Which is not what's taking place today. And I think part of what the IEC has explained is that this is a new security feature, because we know, of course, the special votes will be counted with the rest of the votes once the voting stations are closed.
Yeah, but remember that with special votes, there's a minor difference between what is actually happening in during the 2 days of special votes and on the day of the election. So the ballots for special votes are put in a small envelope.
Right.
And that small envelope does not have any mark. But you put it then, that small envelope, in a bigger envelope. The bigger envelope will have your details, so that on the day of the elections, or on the day before the counting happens, they can actually be able to get your details, scratch you off the voter's roll, and then make sure that that ballot that you have actually put in a small ballot, then is deposited into a ballot box, and it is only then that it can actually be counted together with all other ballots. So special votes are not counted separate from all other ballots. So before counting happens, that process happens. And then the reason why you are putting your details in the bigger envelope is just to be able to make sure that there is reconciliation, that your name can actually be formally deleted on the voter's roll to indicate that you have indeed voted and you are registered at that particular voting station. From there, the security of ballot, it's on your small envelope, which does not have your details. So there is no breach of security and sanctity of your vote as a result of that.
Fair enough. Important, of course, to understand these different steps, just so now you slipping into Zulus, just so you also know what to expect as you cast your ballot. We live in a country where I'm explaining these things to all manner of people, and in some instances it's Zulu.